What's going on, guys? Danny, Slow Restoration. Today we have a big dump truck on the lift. It's a 3500 GMC Duramax diesel, and we need to pull these back wheels off and do a brake job. We're going to do rotors, pads, probably oil seals, and the emergency brake shoes, and a hardware kit. Let's get these wheels off. Oh, almost got away from me. With the wheels off and okay to do the job, we do have to pull this axle. So there's, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so there's 8 bolts on this axle. Of course, we have our drip pan under it because you will lose some fluid. Not a lot, but be prepared. When you pull this off, you will get some fluid. As you can see there, we are losing a little bit of fluid. Just that. Not a lot, but you know, enough in the hub to warrant a catch pan. This axle slid out next. Go ahead and pull that out. We'll set this aside. Alright guys, we got 2 bolts on the back on the caliper mounting bracket, one down here, of course one up here. Let me set you back down here. And we got them backed out. This one's just in there loosely. Throw that up there and the whole caliper bracket and all come off. We'll move these wrenches out of the way. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. And put this up on top of the spring. Now we're loose. Inside here, there's a spiral snap ring. We'll put our screwdriver under that and just kind of pry. It pops right off. Throw that up here. And there's a lock key here that snap ring holds in place. There's a keyway in the spindle and this little lock key. Let me grab a magnet, it'll be easier to get out. We got our magnet. Let's just grab that, slide that right out. It's just really a square block. We'll set that up there with the snap ring. And now we just have the 2 locking nuts. They make a wrench to put on there and take that out. We'll see. This one's loose, so we'll just go ahead and back it off the screwdriver. Gets close to the end. You don't want it to drop on the floor and get all dirty, so there we go. So we'll pull that off. That's all it's holding this on, except for there is a seal in the back and they sometimes get pretty sticky. So you just take a pry bar. We're replacing this rotor anyway, so we can pry on it, and we'll just take and give it a couple taps. I already broke this loose, but as you can see, now it's not wanting to move, but yeah, a couple taps and it pops off. Now we can slide this assembly off. If you're going to plan on doing this job, definitely make sure you get the seals. When you pull the rotor, it's a 2-part seal and they will separate most likely. So you will have to pry this section off the spindle and the whatever assembly there. The other piece will still be inside. We'll get that out, but we have our new one here. As you can see, it's pretty thick, pretty elaborate, and it actually spins in the middle. So that's what comes apart on when you do these. So definitely pick up these. They're not too expensive. They'll save you a lot of trouble. To separate the rotor and the spindle or the hub, I guess that's more the hub. That's the spindle. But anyway, to separate them, you do have to drive the wheel studs out. And you can reuse them as long as they come out clean and go back in clean. And I mean, you got to be careful, but pretty much you're just going to tap these out. Of course, that one was already broke loose, but just showing you what to do. We got them out. Now we can actually separate the hub from the rotor. With those drove out, you might have to tap this around a little bit to break it loose, but it just actually lifts right off. Now we can get to the back side here. address that seal, get it changed, and like I said, install that new rotor, and we'll be ready to go back together once we do those emergency brake shoes. If you're doing this job, it's probably pretty self-explanatory how to change a seal, but pretty much you're going to drive something in there. You can use a seal puller if you have one big enough. Screwdriver also works. Drive it in there, pry that up, pull it out. We'll inspect the bearings, but they ride in oil, so I'm sure they're good. But we'll look at them anyway, and we'll get the new seal installed. Nice even taps around the edge of this. We got our new seal installed, and we're ready to go back together. Tip, as you're putting this stuff back together, I always take a file and kind of run it over the flat surfaces. Make sure there's no nicks or grooves that are going to keep that from seating flat as we put it back together. As you can see, there was a tiny one there and one there, but just run a file over it. They'll stand right out if it is a high spot. Wipe it down good with a rag. Same with this piece, and then we'll flip that upside down. Actually, we'll leave that like that. We'll drop this rotor on, and then we'll start installing our studs. I'm just dropping our studs down in these holes. We'll take this brass punch, tap them in there as much as we can, and then we'll use a puller to pull them the rest of the way through. Final process of putting this back together, this assembly, is pulling the lug nuts or the lug studs all the way through and making them tight so that this outer spindle hub, I keep calling it a spindle, but it's a hub, is tight to the rotor. That's how the rotor gets attached, through the pinching of the stud to the spindle. Hub. So to do that, you get one of these. It's a Torrington bearing. It's made for wheel studs. You just drop it over. We've already did these. Drop it over. You can use a lug nut. These have a built-in washer. You start that and just tighten them up. You don't want to use the same lug nut on all of them. Rotate lug nuts so you're not wearing them out. But I'll show you how that works here real quick. You do want to use a spacer like this, is because there is a shoulder. There's no way you could run this lug nut all the way down, pull that stud through. You would ruin the threads at the end of it. It would tighten up and just bind up and end up stripping out. So you definitely need a spacer, and one like this with the bearing in it puts a lot less stress on everything as you go. Now we're going to take our emergency brake shoes. We already got them loosened off, but pretty much it's this nail looking piece that sticks through. It does have a flat on the end. It has a spring. It's a flat spring. This goes through. There's a slot. So once that goes through, you actually push in on this spring and then rotate this nail. If you rotate it that way, it is not coming out. You push in and rotate it this way, it'll pull right out. Show you that again. This way it's locked. You push in and rotate, it pulls right through. So there's two of them. There's one there and one there. We'll pull them off, and then we'll be able to get the shoe assembly off. There's some return springs. There's actually two down here and one up here, and then an adjuster. These return springs, the easiest way to get them off that I find is lock onto them with a pair of vice grips. You can push away and then just pull them right out. They can be a fight sometimes. That one came out pretty easy. The back one we'll probably leave. There's the assembly. Just kind of take note on how all this goes together, which way the springs face and which way this adjuster faces. We'll have to make sure all that goes back in correctly. Let me get this finished taken off, and then we'll start installing the new. Easiest way to get this top part is to actually grip this, pull it apart, and move that adjuster out. We'll set that aside up here. Again, take note which way it went. Now we have our spring loose. Set that up there too. This spring's a little different than the other two. It goes in kind of either way. So set that up there. And now our shoes are loose. We only have one screw at the bottom holding this. On the bottom, hopefully you can see this. Again, just grab a hold of the shoe and pull out and around. That will release the spring pressure. Now we can wiggle that spring and take it off and pull each shoe out individually, keeping that spring from falling. Again, remember which way that spring faced, and keep your shoes oriented too. Just match everything up, make sure it goes back together the way it came apart. Now it's time for reassembly. We'll go ahead and put our retaining pins, the little nail looking thing, through on either side and just let them hang there. We did get 3 new springs. These go on the bottom, this goes on the top. I think there was an extra, oh, maybe we're good. Yeah, so here's our new springs. Again, just watch which way they're oriented. This top one is universal, it goes on either way. These bottom, they have a long side and a short side. Put them back on the way they came off, and we'll get our springs mocked up, and or our shoes mocked up. We'll put that one spring back on and go from there. It does come with a little packet of lubrication, so any metal to metal contact, so like these little pads on the backing plate, put some on your adjusting bolt, put a little bit on the threads, and you'll be good to go. Don't need a whole lot, just a little bit will do. So we're going to start with this shoe. We'll throw it back in there. You have to move this stuff around a little bit to get it lined up. Actually, we're going to go ahead and throw our spring back on there. It just goes in this slot. We'll lock that in. Hopefully it doesn't fall out as we go back. And it did. We'll have to put it back in, so you can still reach back in there and get it set. With that one there, then we can take this shoe. Make sure you have them right way. Compare them to your old ones, make sure you're doing it right. We're probably going to lock our spring in first. These are a little awkward. They're always kind of a pain. It's nice to have the rotor and everything out of your way on them on the 1500s. Unless you pull the axle, they're always in the way. All right, we have that spring. Now we can just take and hold that shoe in place and pull over. Get a grip on it. There we go. Make sure everything's locked in place where it needs to go. It's all looking good. We'll hold over on this top and we'll get our new spring for the top in there on that side. Like I said, it is a little awkward to do these. All right, we got that set. We'll hold some pressure on there and we'll get our new adjusting bolt. Again, make sure it's going in the proper way. And then we can just spread these 2 shoes and get that to pop in there. There we go. Top is looking good. We still have to put our second spring on the bottom. I'm not sure what I did with it. There it is. Get our vice grips the same way. Make sure they're tight enough. There we go. Make sure it locks in there proper. Get our vice grips off. Two springs at the bottom. We're seated in place. Adjusting bolt at the top. Spring is seated in place. The spring actually kind of acts as a keeper for that wheel. Keeps it from free spinning. So the next step is going to be put our retaining pins through the shoe. Now this is a real pain no matter how you do it. I have to loosen these up. I like to leave a little bit of a gap there. If you can push that and then grab that. Sometimes you can spin these by hand on the back side. Other times you do need to use these vice grips. And they can be tricky. I think I need to loosen the vice grips up a tiny bit. Having this all reassembled, we got both sides connected there. All the springs are back up. It's roughly adjusted. We need to slide this rotor assembly back on. Take a peek inside, make sure everything looks good, make sure these studs look like they're fully seated, make sure your rotor's not loose. We'll wipe the rotor down. We did spread just a little bit of grease on the seal so it's not dry as it goes back together. We're going to take and slip that back on, and we'll check and make sure our emergency brake shoes are where they need to be. Time to slip this assembly back on. I already adjusted the brakes so you can hear them just lightly grabbing once we get this on and snugged up. It's still hanging down a little bit. I think we're going to be right where we need to be. We'll wipe this front face off once we get it again where we need it to be. The seal just slipped in. It's nice and free spinning. We're good to go. Now we'll start assembling the front here. We'll assemble in reverse procedure. The locking ring nut, retainer nut goes on. We'll get that started. Right in with the screwdriver. Once you get the lock nut in there and adjusted where you want it, again, it's not super tight. That's why this lock ring is there. You pretty much snug it up, spin it, and then you have to back it off until you meet one of these spots where this keyway can go in. So you don't want to spin it past where it gets tight because that would make it too tight. Snug everything up, make sure it's pulled all the way in, and then back it off to where you can slip this keyway in like that, and then we'll reinstall this snap ring on the outside here. The end of the snap ring does have a little piece that hangs down, and that will go in the keyway. So we'll just make sure that is where that ends up. Kind of spiral that around, and it'll snap right in there when you have it. You take a screwdriver and push in, make sure it's all the way snapped in, and then you're good to go. We're ready to slip that axle back in, and we're good. All we gotta do is slip the axle back in, put our new pads on, of course compress that caliper in, lube everything up, put our new pads on. I guess I might as well show you that too. So let me get this finished up, then we'll show you that. Now down to actually replacing the brake pads. The way I like to do them is set the whole assembly here. We'll slip this out. We'll get this inside shoe. Not a shoe, it's actually a pad, but get it bounced off there. We'll pull this caliper mounting bracket over and we can slip that right off of the pads. The pads just kind of stay in there. Now we have our slides exposed so we can lube them up. You can take the slide bolts out, can make it slightly easier, but this works good for me, so that's the way I'm going to do it. Set that down there. We'll lift our pads out. To compress the pistons, this is a dual piston caliper. So a quick easy way is take a pair of vice grips like this. They do make a tool to go in there. This to me works quicker. Just put them in there and squeeze them down, adjust them a little bit, and make sure they're all the way back in. Do the same thing with this piston. You may have to go back and finish that one off a little bit. We have our brake lube here. Just lube up these slides quick. They were already lubed, so they weren't froze. Sometimes these get dry and rusty. We'll just put some fresh lube on there and then hit any metal to metal contact points. So inside where the brake pad rides, we'll put a little bit. And on the piston faces here, we don't want to overdo this. Just get enough on there to keep squeaks and squeals down. Don't want the grease to drip off on any of the friction surfaces. Just metal to metal contacts. So we're good with that. The only other thing we have to lube, grab my caliper mounting bracket here, and any place, again, metal to contact where the brake shoe or pad, I keep saying shoe, brake shoe pad. It's hard to talk and concentrate on what you're doing at the same time some days. So again, sparingly, I got a little bit too much there. I'll have to clean it off a little bit. Once you have that, you can take your brake pads, lay them down inside there, keep this from falling. Take our caliper mounting bracket, make sure you have it right side up. We'll slip it over the slides, line the brake pads up with the caliper mounting bracket, and just slip them right on there. All cleaned up. We'll just take this, make sure your hose isn't bound up any which way, line that up, and that should slip right back on. We'll grab our top bolt. This stuff is kind of heavy, so you gotta jockey it around a little bit. Line our top bolt up and get it started just to hold it in place. There we go. And we'll grab our bottom bolt, get it started. We'll go ahead and tighten that up, and that will be this side. Alright guys, we got our wheels and tires bolted back up. Last step is we slid our axles back in. We did put a new gasket on here, a flange gasket, and we just have to put our bolts back in. I'm going to use some blue Loctite on them, and we'll torque them back down. And just need to, we got the fill plug out, we just need to top off the differential fluid and fill those hubs back up. So other than that, it's ready for a test drive.